Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica. I mean, Taylor Swift in her 40s. Bangs, red lipstick. Come on.
Look,
you walked right into that.
Look, the bangs was a decision that I made just before we flew out to the hospital. Never make decisions on your hair at a very emotional moment, guys. But we're living with it. We're doing our best.
I would just like to point out no one asked for my opinion before this situation happened. Or maybe I could have stopped the insanity.
I like the bangs. I just can't wear my hair down with bangs. Anyhow, guys, okay, so this video is a part of our Moody Valentine series, and this one is going to be MC Romancerecs.
All right, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. You are going to want to be entered into our Road to 1K giveaway so you can win these books. They are fantastic. You definitely want them. So make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram for an extra entry, like, and comment below. We're going to give you some of our favorite MC books that we've read recently. This is not our first MC video, but definitely comment below on some of your favorite MC romances. We definitely want to hear about those.
We have 2 other MC videos out, so we'll make a playlist and have that linked for you guys, or you can go find it in the playlist. That's what you do. Go find it in the playlist.
Wow, you've gotten feisty since you've gotten bangs and red lips.
I'm just tired, okay? All right, guys. So
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, I know. Mandy and I have a thing with MCs. They have to be dirty. They have to be gritty.
I'm wearing my Harley Davidson MC.
I love
shirt.
that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you always say you don't want toys for tots. You want gritty MC.
Uh-huh.
So that is what we tend to read more of.
Toys for tots are Hell Angels. We go for the Hells Angels. Okay. So we have 10 MC Recs for everybody. So let's get started with those. So the first book I have to talk about is the one that I just did a read of this last week, and that is Filthy Sinner by Serena Ackroyd. This combines her 5 Points Mafia with her MC her MC series. I'm not really a fan of her MC series itself, but I did love this one. So this one is about Mary Catherine and Digger. So Mary Catherine is a part of the mafia. Her father sets her up to marry a guy she does not want to marry. He's like 35 years older than her. And she found out a few years before that she has a half brother through her mother. They don't have the same father. And this guy is a part of the MC, and he left her a way to get in contact with him if she ever needed him. And she's hidden this burner phone for years at this point. So she uses that information. She's not able to get a hold of him, but she is able to find their compound. She goes to the compound, and that is when she meets Digger. Digger is on guard duty that night. He's out at the fence, and he knows who she is. He's seen her before. There's some attraction. There's always been a little attraction between them. And he says, well, here, to keep you safe, how about I just marry you instead? Let's go to Vegas. So they have a road trip. They go to Vegas. They get married. There's consequences to their actions. But I loved their story. It was definitely gritty. It was more focused on her relationship. We see a lot of mafia and MC stuff going on here. Not as much MC, but it was still extremely good. Okay. What's your first book?
So my first book is called Knox, and this is by Savannah Ryland. This is the first book in the Dead Souls MC. This is about Monroe and Knox. Knox is in the MC, and he goes with some of his biker club to meet a rival biker gang. And while they're there having some discussions, he ends up being framed for somebody's murder. Then he gets arrested by the police. And he's basically just stunned because he doesn't understand what's going on, because the person was like alive when he left. So he knows something fishy's going on. So he needs to get his attorneys involved. Well, the attorney office he used just hired a new attorney, Monroe. Monroe has moved here, and she has this high moral ground, and she is actually very concerned about working with this MC club because she doesn't want to be defending people that aren't doing right. But she's told to go meet with him, so she does, a little reluctantly. So she goes to meet with him in jail, and they have discussions and things where he's kind of explaining what's going on, and she is a very good attorney. So she starts digging into what's being said and starts uncovering a whole bunch of stuff. In the meantime, Knox is able to get out for the time being, like on bail type situation. And they end up very quickly having an insta-love connection. So I was a little bummed about that because I was wanting that angst of like the attraction, but her like really sticking to her moral grounds of like, this isn't okay. But anyway, we just have the insta love. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on that really is propelling this MC story forward. So I really enjoyed this one. It was a solid 4 stars for me. And I plan to very soon continue on with this series. It's also on Audible. So if you have the Audible membership, you can listen to, I believe, the entire series for free. So just a thought.
Okay. All
If you
right.
like audio like Jessica does.
I do. Because I can do stuff while I'm listening to my book. So. Okay. So the next book I have is Angel Unseen. This is by Jay Bree. So this Jay Bree writes a lot of fantasy. I think she's known for a fantasy series, but this one was really, really good. So this is about Angel. She is on the run. She's living in her car. She's running from something pretty big, and she has been trained as a dancer. So she gets a job as a dancer at this club that is run by the MC. So the girls in this club, who are the dancers, they can do extras with the MC for extra money, but Angel refuses to do that. She is just there to dance. And because of that, there's some animosity towards her. And then you have Tommy, who is a part of the club, and when he sees her, he is just struck. Like, he calls it the C word, cunt struck. And I don't know that I really like that phrase, but I get where he's coming from. That's said a couple different times. It's there's this whole Callahan curse. Once you see the girl, like, that's it. It's downhill from there kind of situation. But the minute he sees her, there's something about her. He's attracted to her. And then this is their story. So there's a lot of things going on with the club. There's a rat in the club. There's some things that are being leaked out. And then you also have the stuff that Angel is running from. Plus, she's a stripper. She is dancing in this club. So there was a lot to this one. I loved it. It was 5 stars when I read it. I loved it.
Fantastic. I'm like scooting closer or something. I want people to see my Harley Davidson.
Okay.
And you should appreciate this, Jessica.
I do. It's Denali.
Yes. Where you can hike all day long and never see a moose.
You scared them.
They don't exist. You Alaskans are messed up in the head and created this illusion of moose existing for tourism dollars.
If
My
they
turn.
don't exist.
This is MC.
You started it.
Nope, I did not. Okay, so my next recommendation is Silus by Lane Hart and D.B. West. This is book number 4 in the Dirty Aces MC series. I read book 4. I'm going to go back and start at the beginning because I really, really enjoyed book 4. It was fantastic. So this is about Cora, who is hired to be a personal chef to a mob boss. And while she's there cooking, some bad guys break in and she hides in the pantry while pretty much everybody on the property is murdered. And these bikers are wearing their helmets, so she can't identify them, but she sees them. They know she was there, but for whatever reason, he lets her go. So she decides her best option is to go into hiding. So she stays hiding in her room, in her like house, and her, like shuts everything down in her house and like basically hunkers down in her bedroom, hoping that she can just wait this whole horrible situation out. Well, the police know she was there based on some other situations. So they come to her and they're like, look, we know you were there, so you haven't come clean. So either you were a part of this or you need to tell us what was going on. So she gives them a little bit of information, hoping that'll just get them off her back and she can go back into hiding. Everything will blow over. Well, then, while she's waiting for everything to blow over, the FBI shows up at her house and says, things have gone down. We need to get you into witness protection. So she's like, thank goodness somebody is finally like going to do something about this. So she's taken off to this island. This is like based somewhere on the East Coast, and they take like a ferry to this island, and there's a really beautiful house for her and all of this. And then the FBI agent stays there and they start up a relationship. But the catch is he's not an FBI agent.
Mm-hmm.
He's an MC member of the group that took out the mob boss. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I loved it. It was so good. Incredibly good.
Okay. All right. So the next book I have, I read it last summer, but this is Ravage by Jessica Ames. So this is about Ravage and Sasha. So Ravage is the president of the club, and Sasha and him had a relationship a few years prior. And one night he goes on a run for a few days, leaves his brother in charge of her to keep an eye out on her, and comes home and she's gone. Hasn't seen her for years. And Sasha has now come back to town because her 2-year-old little girl has leukemia and she needs a bone marrow transplant, and she is not a match. So this takes place in London, I believe. And so she has to go to the MC and she has to tell Ravage that she has a daughter that's his daughter, and that she needs everybody at the MC to get tested, or she needs him to get tested. It'd be nice if everybody got tested just in case he's in a match, but she needs him to get tested and his brother, because she doesn't know who the father is. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was great. Loved it. I can't hear you.
I muted myself because I was coughing. I really don't feel good, so I apologize. But I did come on with a fantastic dun dun dun, and that seems to be like our theme.
I love it. Thank you for the dun dun dun. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what else you got?
I think though I'm gonna interrupt the dun dun dun. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think I don't know that I have a dun dun dun, but I'll try.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, so my next book is Ice, and this is the start of the Regulators MC series, and this is by Chelsea Cameron and Jessie Lane. This is about Ice and Morgan. Ice, his wife died when his daughter, I think, was 3, and so he's been a single dad for a while. His daughter's now 16, and her best friend is a girl named Madison. Madison is growing up in like just a really horrific, toxic home of parents who feel like they're extremely wealthy and are much more concerned about keeping up with appearances than their daughters. And they basically disown her. And so she goes to live with her sister, Morgan. And Morgan is trying to like do right and raise Madison, but isn't necessarily like fully equipped all of a sudden to take on a teenager. And there's a little incident which leads Ice to come to her door and basically chew her out about not taking care of her sister when he doesn't really know the story. So he's kind of a jerk about it, but he's also just really looking out for Brooke. His MC is currently trying to bring down a sex trafficking ring. So that's kind of where his thoughts are. He's very much your typical MC with the whole like get on your knees and type behavior of women. So if you don't like that, you probably don't like MC then, because that seems to be a theme in most of them. And then Madison goes missing. And so Ice is like, okay, I'm going to find her. And he goes and tells Morgan, I'm going to find her. And that really kind of propels some sort of a relationship between them with when there's still some animosity between the two of them. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully you can't hear my kids stomping around in the hallway and slamming doors, because apparently nobody realizes that you turn a door handle when you're closing the door.
I don't hear anything, so you're good.
Okay. All right. So my next book is called Lethal. This is by Cassandra Robbins. So this is the first book in her Disciple series. I really want to read the rest. I just haven't gotten to them yet. But this is about Eve and Jason, or as he's known, Blade. That is his road name. And so Eva, she's Eve. I wrote Eva. I think it's Eve. She has grown up at this carnival. Her dad and her brother, they all work at this carnival. They travel with it. They go around, do their thing. A few years prior, she's seen Blade come. He was trying to get some money out of her brother or her dad. I can't remember which one, but one of them, they owed him some money. They'd run some drugs or something for him. And he saw her when she was like 17. There was some attraction. Then he realized she was 17 and he backed off. So then now you have a few years later, they're back in town. They're running the carnival. Her brother owes the MC some money. Her dad is dying. I think he has emphysema or something. He's on oxygen. He's dying. And they're all living in this little trailer. When the MC comes, her brother is nowhere to be found, and he hasn't been found for days and days. So they decide to take Eva as payment, or Eve, whatever her name is, as payment. And when he takes her, he brands her immediately before they even leave the trailer in front of her father, and he brands her with his disciple's ring. And he has a choice. Either he brands her behind the ear on the neck or on the wrist, and each one means something differently. If he's to brand her on the wrist, she just becomes a club whore. If he brands her on the neck, that makes her his old lady, and he decides to make her his old lady. So there's a lot that ensues from this. There's a lot that happens. She does not understand club life. She does not understand what it means to be an old lady. She just feels like she's a captive. It is somewhat captive because he takes her. She doesn't want to go, but she's a virgin heroine, and all of a sudden she's with this crazy biker guy, and she's got to put out, and she's, there's a lot, but it was really good.
My next recommendation comes from the 9-minute world. So you definitely want to read the 9-minute trilogy if you like nitty gritty MC. So this is the actual name of the series is the 9-minute series spinoff. So this is book number 1, the Iron Tiara. You could definitely read this without having read 9 minutes, but I think you get a little more enjoyment out of this if you know what's going on, but you really don't have to know what's going on, if that makes sense. So this is not one of those books where people are like, oh, sure, read it. And then you read it and you're like, wait, what's this? What's this? Anything you need to know, she makes sure you know about it. So you can decide which way you want to go. If you want to just start with the Iron Tiara, Go For It by Beth Flynn, or start with 9 minutes and then come this way. Anyway, so here we have Anthony Bear and Christy. This is their story. Anthony Bear leaves the Indian reservation that he is living on when he's a young child. I think he's like 12 or 13 when he decides to leave, and he runs off to Florida and starts his life of crime and the MC Club. He also runs a business called Native Landscape. That is legit, and that's kind of his front, but his big money maker is all of the side stuff he does that's not so legal. And Christy's dad, Van, their whole family owns this car dealership empire, and Christy is she is the heiress to everything that her grandma has left it to her, and Van has basically married into this family. And Van has racked up a lot of debt with Anthony, and Anthony is tired of waiting for him to pay. So Anthony takes matters into his own hands to send a strong message and kidnaps Christy. Christy is a very, very young adult at the time, and she actually hates Van herself. And so we learn a ton more about what's really going on in this story and see this forbidden age gap type relationships start to take place, because Christy comes from a lot of money. She's wealthy, and Anthony is living this life of crime. But fantastic MC romance. I absolutely loved it. I would say with any MC that we're recommending, check triggers, but definitely with Beth Flynn's books, you need to check triggers if you have triggers.
With any book I recommend, you probably should check triggers. That's just a given. Anyhow, okay, are you ready for my last recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, so that is Lock and Key by Kat Porter. This one's really emotional for an MC. That's long. There's a lot that happens in this book, but this is about Grace, and her road name is Little Sister. She's known as Little Sister. She was a part of the MC. So her sister actually got into the MC. She was doing some stuff for the MC when they were young, when they were teenagers. And that is where her name of Little Sister came from. They refer to her as Little Sister. Her sister actually takes the blame for a crime and goes to prison for the MC. And then there's a tragedy that happens when Grace is a little bit older between her with the MC, and she ends up leaving town. So when the book starts out, she is coming back to town after a ton. She's in her 40s. I love having this older heroine, but she comes back into town after, trying to go and get her life straightened out after all that stuff happens. And on her way into town, she's coming back because her sister is dying, and she's coming back to see if she's a bone marrow donor, if she matches with her sister or whatever. And so she's coming back. On her way back, she stops at a bar, and that is where she meets Miller, and they end up having a one-night stand. Now, he's not wearing his cut. She has no clue that he's a part of the MC until she's getting up the next morning, and she sees his tattoo on his back, and she knows exactly what that means. So she hightails it out of there. She wants nothing to do with the MC. But she soon finds out that she is not a match to her sister, and her sister is dying at this point. She's got a little boy and a husband, and it does not look good. So she sucks it up, and she goes back to the MC to say, look, you promised if my sister did this that you would always take care of us and that we are family. I need you guys to go get tested. I need you to save my sister one more time. And that is when she sees Miller again, whose road name is Locke, and she tries to pretend that there was nothing there, but they had quite the connection. Now, he's always heard of little sister, and so he's kind of enamored with her and who she was in the club before, and so he kind of has this little bit of hero worship. But very emotional. Definitely check triggers, especially if cancer or losing a loved one is a trigger. You need to check them. So, or just being in that situation. So, yeah. Okay.
All right. So my next recommendation is also another spinoff from another MC motorcycle series that we have recommended before, or I have recommended before, and that is Knight's Corruption by S. Nelson. So this is the spinoff where they go to Laredo.
Laredo. I think it's Laredo.
Mm-hmm. I was right the first time.
That's what Grandpa says.
Okay, so this is in Texas. And Tag, we meet him in the previous series, and we kind of know a lot more about him in that series. So you could definitely continue on, or you could go ahead and read this book to set yourself up for the new series. So this book already starts off with our romance basically in play. So Tag is engaged to Morgan, and Morgan gets a temporary job for a few months to go set up this art gallery in Texas. Tag goes with her because, I mean, they're together. He doesn't want her to be gone for 3 or 4 months without him. So he goes with her, and they get set up, and immediately he realizes something's off with this chapter of the Knight's Corruption Motorcycle Club, and also something's weird going on at the gallery. So there's kind of like this mystery of what's happening, and is Morgan in danger? What does Tag need to do? So this sets up the whole new series with this book. I really loved it. We get to see some of the other characters a little bit in this spinoff as well. So it was a great setup to the new series. S. Nelson writes really well. I like her writing. Oh, yeah, Tag just fell on the floor.
No. Is he okay?
He looks okay.
Whew. Man, that was rough for a second.
Yes, this is definitely a case of buying the book for the cover.
Always. Yes, definitely. All right, guys.
Stay there, Tag. Behave yourself.
Keep him safe. That's just not cool. All right, guys. So that is what we have for MC romance recommendations.
Make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about MC romances. What are some of your favorite books? And then check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.